Let us remember that so far we have been speaking about ways of deviating from the, let's say, critical game, Kramnik-Kasparov. And Rook b1 we saw was is not such a bad possibility. We should also mention here the newest attempt to sidestep the main lines, namely in a very important game from the candidates this same year, when the two maximum specialists with white and with black were facing each other, and Kramnik played king c2 instead of the normal king e1. This must have come as a surprise for Svidler. The move had been played in just one not so relevant game before. Of course, the main question is where to go with the knight. And Svidler played knight e5, but this proved to be too passive. Play was to a certain extent similar to that from the game Kramnik-Leko. White simply gained space with his pawns. Now without knights he has no problem with the king, it can stay anywhere. So Kramnik won a very good game with pressure on both wings. He annotates it extensively. You can find his comments on this DVD. But once again, the critical move is knight a5. And actually, there was a game shortly after the candidates between Rajabov and Mamedyarov, which showed what is the critical line, and one in which it's not really simple to prove an advantage for white. The game ended in a draw, almost by force. Of course, you can also think that they are from the same country, so maybe it was a friendly draw, well-masked friendly draw. Who knows? But the game is quite logical. Bishop g5, we know this already, this kind of moves. Bishop d7. Actually, there have been some games on this line already. King f8 and f6, they proved not really enough for black. But bishop d7 is as always critical. This rook d8. We'll come back to this position later. This was the move order chosen by the players, and now white went to bishop b4, but knight c4 was a very strong move. It looks like a sacrifice. Actually, it's not really a sacrifice, but after bishop takes c4, it's not the obvious rook c8, but rather rook takes c4, which is a nice move. It was played like this, because now black simply retrieves the material, and it was a position with opposite colored bishops and rooks, but white could not take advantage of the weakness of the black king. So the game ended in a draw. There are some subtleties on the way. For instance, white could try to play d6. I have analyzed these lines. Knight c6. There is no time for a6, because white can consolidate with bishop d3, and he has some chances to keep his advantage. He defends this pawn, and he will be ready to go away with the bishop. So knight c6 can be met with bishop b5, and if this, then king b1 would be not a bad move. for instance, if a6, then e5, and of course black has hopes for questioning white's space advantage, but still the d6 pawn is very dangerous. So this is not really satisfactory for black. But actually, knight c6 is not the most precise move. It is much more important to give this check first. The problem is that now, if king b1, then the rook c6 is suddenly very dangerous. So then the king has to step to the other side, and then knight c6 is much more effective. It's probably no, sorry, not knight c6. No, now rook c3 is the move. Sorry, and well, there is this kind of position which is completely unclear. White will eventually take on c6 and then try to unblock the position. Well, I mean, this is the position where white could try to play, but then there is an even better move order for black, namely rook e8 first. And the problem now is that after d6, a6 is very strong, because if bishop d3, as mentioned, then knight c6 creates a double threat, because the king is still on c2. That's the difference. So because of this, after rook e8, white has nothing better than bishop b4. But then we would have the same old story. This would just transpose to the game Rajab of Mamedyarov. So for the time being, I failed to find a way to transform Kramnik's king c2 into an effective weapon. Maybe the near future will bring in some changes, but it is also interesting that in the next game between Kramnik and Svidler, Kramnik did not repeat this line. He played something else, and it was a draw, not very interesting. So for the time being, I say that the position after queen a5 and knight c6, rook b1 remains white's main hope for an advantage.